Hey everyone, this is Laurel, or the Dabbling Hook. Welcome back. This is take 2.5 of recording this. I did this all yesterday, and I'm working from home all this week because I am home with a stomach bug, and when you work from home, you are more relaxed and you don't realize how much until you try to record a video or record a whole video and watch it back and realize that you look like absolute crap on video. So yeah, I had stuff on my shirt that didn't show up until I did the playback. My hair was a mess. It was just, anyway, so take 2.5 because I've tried this twice this morning and just wasn't working. So apologies if you hear background noises. There is work still going on my street, and there are lots of trucks going back and forth, so there's never a good time. So hope everyone's doing well, better than I am. I'm feeling a lot better, but not better enough for to be amongst other people for any long period of time. So yeah, I am just back sooner again than I thought, just to show some of my finished items and talk a little bit about the craft fair that I did last weekend. Or the weekend before last, I think it was. Was it last weekend? What day is today? Oh, 2 weekends ago. Yeah, my brain's still not back. Anyway, the craft fair went better than I expected. Like I'd mentioned, I'd done it last year and it did not go so well, so I almost didn't do it again, but because I've been making so many octopuses and other amigurumi, I thought I would give it another shot with a bit of different inventory. So the kids who were there loved the toys. The parents were not very cooperative. Why bring kids to a craft fair when you're not going to buy them anything, or at least let them touch or see or whatever? So many of them said, put that down, don't touch this. Or the kids wanted it and you can just tell in the faces of the parents they weren't going to buy it. Why bring the kids? Anyway, little rant. But it did go much better than I expected, which was a good thing. So we shall see. I do have another one, looking at the calendar. I have another one in, where are we? In a week. A week from this coming Saturday, I have another craft fair, so I plan on doing the same thing, taking more amigurumi. I did sell one shawl, which I was surprised about. I brought it just in case, but I did sell one, so I'll bring the others. Last time, the one I'm doing next Saturday, I sold 2 shawls at that one, so I have high hopes this time around. But anyway, I will put in a couple of pictures just to, if I still have them. I may have deleted it, but if I do, I'll put them in. Other than that, I'm still just making toys. I'm still participating in the 2018 Softy Cal that's being hosted on Facebook, and there is a Cal Central group on Facebook. I put it in my last video. I put the link to that, or at least to the website where the patterns are being posted. They're posted every Monday. And it started in April and it's going through, oh, I think this was the last week. Yeah. It's either this is the last week or next week is the last week. I'll have to check that, but I will show that in finished objects, which is at the end. As far as whips, I still have many languishing whips. The one I showed last week, and I'm going to be bending and going off to the sides to pull things. The one I showed last week, I've gotten a little bit of progress on, is the Kelsey Shawl by Lacey of Hooked on Owls. And as I mentioned last week, she had offered it free for, I think, a week. So anyone who downloaded it were basically being used as testers for her pattern, which is kind of a good idea. Not kind of, it is a good idea. So I think last time I showed it, I was in the teal section, and I've just added, like I said, a little bit. This is the gnome colorway of the mandala yarn, and I just noticed that this yellow section, which probably won't show up, has speckles in it, which I quite like. I've heard a lot of podcasters and other crafters mention that they're not thrilled with the speckles in these cake yarns. To them, I guess it looks like splotches or mistakes, but I don't mind them at all. I like them. It makes it a little more interesting. And a lot of the times, I think it's really intentional, because a lot of the times the speckles are colors of like the previous colors or the next color in the gradient. So not bad. I think she had sort of an informal cal going along that was over on the 28th, so I definitely missed that, but I'm hoping to finish this in the next like week or so, just to get me to finish something. The only other whip is my Mammoth. Let's see if I move back. My corner to corner Afghan in all my scraps, my worsted scraps, and I'm making this more of a heavy worsted, bulky type yarn. So I'm using, I've used up all my worsted scraps. I have a tote bag of just the more recent worsted yarns that I've used, and just bulky, super bulky yarns. But I've used up pretty much all my worsted, and what I'm doing is I'm using any one-off skeins that I have in my stash. I'm using that with, I'm looking for, I usually go for try to get one solid color or one big skein of one particular yarn, and then I pair it with another worsted, a lighter worsted, usually like Karen Simply Soft, to make it more of a bulky weight. And I just go until they run out, and then I just keep adding. So what I'm using right now is more wrestling. This skein of yarn from AC Moore, and I'm 99.9% sure that Joann's has a similar yarn in their Big Twist, I think, line, and it just looks like a mini boucle yarn. So I actually bought this on clearance, most likely, and it's been sitting here, and I actually had it bagged to donate somewhere, and I never did anything with it, so I just pulled it out, and I'm using it, and I'm just pairing any whatever worsted that I have along with it. I also have this metallic yarn, which I don't know why I bought it. I think it was just pretty, and I don't like it. It snags. I don't like it. Not for anything in particular. So I have this blue steel and a rose gold color that I'll be adding next. And I also have this, again, AC Moore is one of my go-to places for yarn. This is By the Fire, and it's basically their version of homespun. It's pretty color. I think I used it, I had 3 skeins. I used 2 of them, and then this one is just there, so I'll be adding that in next. And I'm also, the Karen Simply Soft I'm using is being repurposed from this. This is a blanket I'd started for my nephew, who's now 6, and I was doubling it with one darker, one lighter of each of the colors, and I'd gotten to maybe halfway through, a little less than halfway through, and it was just getting way too heavy to be a baby blanket, and I was getting bored. It was just a granny stitch. So this was 7 years ago I started this, so it's been sitting. So I'm finally using it. I've taken out about this much of it. I've repurposed, and I take them out section at a time. So these are the balls of the ones, the peach persimmon, I think this one's called, and then the blues I've taken out. Greens and yellows are next. So I'm using that, and I'm adding it to the blanket as I go along. So this just sits behind me until I need it. So that's pretty much it for my whips. Looking around. Yep. As far as acquisitions, I've only, pretty sure, I've only bought one yarn. One second again. I've only purchased one skein of yarn, and it's actually as a result of a meetup I had with another YouTuber. I had shouted her out at the end of my video last week. I put her name up because I forgot to do the shout out during the video. Her name is Jenny, and her channel is called Lovingly Knee. I think it's Knee. I didn't ask her how to pronounce it, but in one of her previous videos, she had put in a little clip of her run to a Walmart in the yarn section, and I was looking at it and I'm like, wow, her Walmart is set up just like mine. I mean, almost exact. So I kept looking and I'm like, that is my Walmart. So I went to her channel, and lo and behold, she lives 20 minutes away from me in the town where my husband grew up. So I emailed her, we chatted, we agreed to meet. And we did. We had, hey Jenny, we met, we had lunch, we chatted. She's got 2 boys, 8 and 3. I've got 2 boys, and my younger one just turned 13 yesterday, so I'm officially a mom of 2 teenagers. Pray for me. No, they're great. They're awesome. Pain in the butts, but they're awesome. So yeah, we ate, we chatted, and then we walked over to a local yarn store. The only one, there's one close to where I live, about 10 minutes away, and then the one where she lives. Those are pretty much the only local yarn stores around, close by to us. We don't have very many of those at all. So we walked there. It's called Island Yarn Company, and you walk in and it's yarn. It's just all hand-dyed yarn. They do their own, they have their own label of hand-dyed yarns, and then they have all the other name brands that you, Noro, oh, there was one that jumped right out at me, and I can't remember what it was, but I'll put in a picture, a couple of pictures I took from there. But yeah, we had a great time, and I purchased this. Now, I did mention that I've mentioned before that I am always drawn to the clearance sections. So they had a bin next to the checkout, and I was going through there, and it was still anywhere from, I think, $7 to like $15 a skein of the yarns in the clearance. So I was already digging through that, and then the owner, you know, mentioned this, and there was a cowl neck little cape. It's not quite a poncho, cape. It comes down to about here, made out of this yarn, and it is so fuzzy. It was so soft. So my mom's birthday is coming up, and it's in July, and I know she won't get to wear it then, but I'm hoping, and this is knitted, so really hoping to be able to make it for her. And if I find a picture, I will insert what it looks like. It is on Ravelry, and when you buy this, you get the pattern for free. They give you a code to download it, so hopefully. And Jenny also, I'm not going to take this out, but Jenny graciously got me a gift. This is another, I guess, kit that they have. And in there is some Louisa Harding wool and silk, which is this multicolor here. And then this cotton merino, which is so soft, so soft. And it's for a pattern for a infinity scarf that hopefully I'll get to cast on sometime before the end of the year. So thank you, Jenny. Really appreciate it. So that's that. So as I was saying with my other purchases, the only other thing I bought was this, which is a set of Tunisian crochet hooks, and I didn't go with anything overly fancy because I've tried Tunisian before. I have a skinny scarf that I did. I forget what the stitch name was, and I was trying it and I messed up, and it ended up being at a slant, so I just kept going with it. So I have that, and I've made a headband because I was trying a stitch and I just kept going, and I just turned it into a headband. And maybe one other, but that was years ago, one other project I'd done. So I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, Tunisian's really starting to be popular again. There are a lot of designers who are, you know, starting to come out with Tunisian patterns, and one of them is TL Yarn Crafts. She has a channel on YouTube. She's also on Instagram, and she has a few tutorials out, and there's one that she did of a pillow, and I forget what the stitch is, but it's really pretty, and I want to do a throw pillow cover with that, because I have a bunch of mill-end yarns from Joanne. It's actually their Big Twist, what's it called? Big Twist Natural Blend, which is basically their version of, it's a 80-20 acrylic wool version of Thick and Quick. And they have 2 in a pack in their mill-end bin, which is usually $7.99, and you can usually find it on sale for either $3.99 or $4.95. $3.99. I think right now it's actually, their bin is on sale for $4.99. But I have quite a few skeins up there, and I've made one other pillow with it. But I want to try this Tunisian stitch, and I will put that there if I remember what it's called. So those are my acquisitions. Now for finished items, like I said, I've been doing carrying on with the Softy crochet along, and I've only actually, since right before the craft fair, I've only made one more little octopus. It's better that way. There you go. So, and I'll talk about this yarn in a little bit because it's in another project, but this is actually the Red Heart Favorite Stripes. So my first finished is the Little Superhero. This pattern is by the Friendly Fox. No, the Friendly Red Fox. Hers comes with, for the hair, either doing it with, doing a boy or a girl for the hair. So, and for the girl, it's 2 ponytails here. So, of course, I did mine as the brown doll, and Gave her an afro puff, and as you can see, the hair has little wisps sticking out. That is actually eyelash yarns. Makes it more realistic, and you can see again me and the crooked sewing, a little off center, but anyway. So that's her afro puff. The yarn I used is paintbrush from AC Moore. It's their Studio Vinyl paintbrush. It is really pretty. The colorways are all watercolor type, and this is one of I'm using in a different project right now. Oop, and I just can feel me ripping out stitches because it's attached. But this is it. It's paintbrush, and they are really, really pretty. So this one is San Giorgio. There's another one called Wheat Stack, which I have in another project, and I forget what this one is called, but it's really pretty. Really pretty. Again, me not liking pinks, but all pinks. And it's hot pink, so I don't mind that. And the cape is done in Karen Simply Soft Party, and the skin tone is the legs, the shoes also Karen Simply Soft Party, and so is the mask. And the skin is Loops and Threads Impeccable. So, not bad. So there's that. Oops, sorry, I have you hooked on very precariously. The other one that I did is, where are you? Oh. This is by, oh, I should have looked it up. Stitch Mommy, I think. This is Olivia the Bear. I think she's supposed to be a ballerina because she has tutus. She has tutu as a skirt, but the only tool I have is from a really old project, and it is full of glitter, and you touch it and it just gets everywhere, and I'm just not about that. So I had this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, so I used that instead, but I didn't have enough, so she is bare at the back. I did end up buying more actual tulle to do it, but I'm in no hurry to do that. I may just go back and see if I can find this at the Dollar Tree and just finish the back instead of cutting up the tulle. But yeah, this is Bravo Bulky, and this is Serenity Chunky. It's the same that I had used in the previous Bluebell doll I showed, the big one with the wobbly head. So this is just another colorway of that. I think this colorway is called Spring. Oh yeah, and she's got her little shoes on here, so that's Olivia. I gave her eyelashes and a smile that wasn't in the pattern, and she had a cross grain ribbon, but I just used the same yarn and did a flower instead. So that's Olivia. And then I liked the superhero so much that I made another, and I wanted to use, I have a few skeins of the Red Heart stripe yarns. So this, I'd mentioned that this is the favorite stripes. This is the same skein of yarn. This I pulled from the center. I actually wanted these more jewel tones to be the doll, but because I pulled from the center, it's a slower, I guess, especially with single crochet, it's a slower transition. So I got all the lighter colors because the yarn goes from, you know, the yellow to green to different greens, and then back again. So I ended up, it had just started back with the yellow and orange here to go back to green again, but I didn't get the colors that I wanted, so that's how she turned out. And again, this is Karen Simply Soft for the cape and mask and boots. And then for the hair, I did the Bernat boa along with, oh, the hairs is Vanna's Choice. So I added some of that to make it look more natural. And again, as you can see, my crooked sewing. Ugh, that bugs me that I can't. Even when I pin it, it still comes out crooked. Working on it. So that's number 2. And because I wanted to get the colors out of that skein of yarn that I originally wanted, I decided to make another bear. But I had, when I did the first superhero, the cape came out a little too small, so I had started all over again. So I decided to just combine the 2 patterns, and for the cape I ended up widening, ugh, I cannot talk today, making it wider by adding some rows on the side to make it come a little wider because it didn't quite reach her arms before. And then instead of the tutu, I used a pattern by My Hobbyist Crochet to make the skirt. And I was trying to use up all the yarn too, so so this is the outside of the skein of yarn, and whoop, you can see how it goes. So it changes color, it goes through the gradient, then there's one color in the middle, which is the teal, and then it starts back again and goes back the other way. So yeah, so I used the Caron Simply Soft and the rest of the skein to make the skirt. And the mask is tacked on here, but I just have this looped around the ear that's not tacked down, just in the front. So this is Olivia the Superhero Bear. And then last is the latest one that came out, and I think it's the last one. Like I said, I have to see if this was the last week of the cow. I made Sarana the Mermaid by Stitch and Stuff. No, I'll put her name down. But this is the last pattern, or the latest pattern that came out. Look at her belly button. I'm so glad it worked. Yep, and this is the paintbrush yarn, and the, I forget what the colorway name was. But yeah, what I did, this is, man, my brain is just not connecting. This is Premium, Big Twist Premium in the cinnamon colorway, and it's a heavy worsted weight yarn, which I actually love. So when I started doing this, it was coming out way smaller because the yarn weights, even though they're number 4, no, even though this is a number 5, when you hold it as just one strand of yarn, it comes out more like a regular number 4. So what I did, I'm not sure if you can see, it won't focus. Those little lines that you see, I actually had embroidery thread in a similar colorway. Actually, I had 3 or 4 different ones that I just held with the paintbrush to do this, to make it come out a little bigger. And for here, her pattern has a front loop, back loop to give it more of a pattern, but it was coming out too gappy for me. You could see the spacing, so I just went with regular single crochets, and because of the variegation in the yarn and the embroidery thread, I think it gives it the texture that the other that the pattern stitch would have. And then the fin. Now for this one, she has videos on how to do the fin, which is very helpful, especially the way she does it. How to sew on the eyes, how to do the eye, there's an indentation here for the eyes, how to do that. And I've always messed that up on other patterns. And then the one thing I'm going to take away from this that I love was how to do the nose. It's actually just stitching back and forth. So she has a video on how to do that as well, which is very helpful. She also has a video of how to add the hair. Now the hair, because this is another brown girl, of course I always want the hair to look more natural, and again, brunette boa. I hope this is not discontinued, but again, when I bought it, it was on clearance, or most likely, yeah, no, actually it wasn't on clearance. It was actually from a discount store, a closeout store that I bought it. So I will need to find another eyelash yarn that's similar or something, because this is so much lighter than using yarn. You don't have to use as much and you get a fuller effect, because yarn tends to weigh the hair down if you tend to put, you know, try to fill in the hair rather than just doing, you know, around the edges and then, you know, making it into a ponytail or something. So I love this for, she needs a trim obviously, but I love it for the visual and the tactile texture look of it, and it just looks more natural. Love it. I wish I'd had, I don't mind the eyes too much, but I kind of don't like that big glaring out look. But I didn't have safety eyes big enough that would fit here, so that would make it right. So yeah, Serrana. So yeah, that's it. I have to stop saying so yeah. Oh no, that's not it. One last thing, I was doing a little bit of tidying up because I had a lot of things fall out as I look for yarns for the dolls, or for the stuffies. I found some Bernat baby blanket that I had in my stash, and I actually have 2 or 3 other skeins. One's a blue and brown, one's another green and, not green, pink and brown, but I used it to make this. And this is just an owl lovey. The white is Loops and Threads Charisma, and then everything else is done in the Bernat baby blanket, so not bad at all. And I plan on doing hopefully a couple more of these before the craft fair. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that done, but yeah. So that is it for my finished items, and then just 2 other things that I'm going to show you of finished items that I pulled out. Speaking of the baby blanket yarn, last time I'd shown, I think, the ginormous octopus that I had done in that 1 skein of Bernat baby blanket. Well, I had, and this was finished last year, I think, I had found on clearance again, Bernat blanket. Actually, this was gotten at Walmart. They were clearancing it out, and it was baby blanket. I think it was probably right after the holidays. Red and cream. So I had made this baby blanket. It's a good size, but the reason I wanted to show you that is I had played Yarn Chicken and lost big time. Look at that. Literally 2 shells left, and I ran out of the white. So I had used some of that variegated baby blanket, so there's just 2 shells at the end. So this had no purpose, it was just me using up the yarn, and a corner to corner is the quickest way to do that. So I may or may not take it with me to the upcoming craft fair, but it's just there. And then the only other thing I have is, this is an old whip that I finished, not a whip, it was a crochet along. I think it was my first crochet along I did, that I actually carried on all the way through. This is the Southern Diamond Shawl, and I can't get it all in. The pattern is by Kathy Lashley of Elk Studio, and actually it isn't the only one. She had the Southern Diamond Shawl, the Southern Diamond Wrap, and maybe I'll show that to you next time. I didn't bring it down. She had a few things she did with this stitch pattern, and so I did both of them. The wrap I did way too big, in some discontinued Martha Stewart's merino wool, or it might have been a merino wool blend yarn, but it's huge. So this is made all in Knit Picks Shine, which I think is their cotton yarn. It's is it Pima cotton? I'll put it on here, but it's soft, and I love the colors. Love the colors. And of course I'd gotten these on on clearance. It was either on clearance or one of their 2 annual sales that they have. I'd gotten a bunch of it. So some of the colorways I don't think are even available anymore in this cotton. So that is all. The only other thing I'm contemplating is doing a giveaway. I've never done one of those, at least not on YouTube. I did one on Instagram eons ago, and one on my Facebook page eons ago. So I'm thinking about it, but not until I get to 500 subscribers. And it will most likely be a pattern, and it would have to be a pattern through Ravelry where it could be gifted that way, rather anywhere else. It will be open to everyone, but that's the reason I'm doing, or I'm contemplating doing it and doing a pattern. That way it's easier to give the winner the prize, because shipping internationally, I'm not one that can afford to pay the outrageous prices. I have a cousin in Canada that I recently sent something to, and not only was it expensive to send, but I forgot that they had to pay for it as well, so she ended up spending almost as much just to get it out. So it's too much. So I'm still thinking about it. It won't be, if I do it, it won't be till I get to 500 subscribers, and more to come, because I have a ways to go until I get there. So thank you, I should have said at the beginning, to all the new subscribers. Thanks for watching, thanks for liking, and come back. Hopefully I will do this again before the end of June. Who knows? I'm still making toys. I'm working on 2 of them right now, actually, or at night I should say I'm working on them. So subscribe if you'd like, or not. Comment if you'd like or not. But thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys next time.